Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing Episode 71, Lights, Camera, Quaction. The episode begins with Ash and the gang walking through a forest looking for a place to train, because Ash was like, you know what, maybe it's time I do actually utilize these filler episodes to get some training in. But as for Brock and Misty, they just wanted a place to rest, so that's why, when they come across a campground, they all determine that it's the perfect place to stop. You can both train and rest there. Ash prepares to send out all of his Pokemon, but then, a girl shows up, interrupting his training plans yet again. Great. She tries to question if they're trainers, insinuating that she wanted to battle, but Brock cuts her off, immediately falling in love due to, falling in love with any girl, and Misty thankfully pulls him away before he can say anything too embarrassing, leading Ash to walk up to the girl and claim that he was willing to battle. Maybe he would actually get some training in this episode after all. Anyways, the girl reveals her name is Katrina and sends out a Raichu, with Ash sending out his Pikachu to battle it. But then, the battle is quickly interrupted by Team Rocket and their annoying asses as usual, as they jump in with a net, expecting that they caught Pikachu, but then they realize that they miscalculated where they jumped, and they actually landed on Raichu instead, and with Raichu being in the net, it got extremely pissed off and used a huge Thunderbolt to break out of the net immediately, and knock Team Rocket to the ground. He's about to finish them off and send them blasting off with a Mega Kick attack, but then he is literally cut off as a film crew suddenly arrive and say, "Cut." Everyone, particularly Ash and Katrina, are very fucking confused by this. Where the fuck did this group of camera people come from? These camera people then reveal that they had been filming Ash and the gang and Katrina's battle for some reason, as one of them states that they needed to get a better angle on the losers, being Team Rocket. Team Rocket get mad at being called the losers, questioning why they were being filmed without their consent, and why they were being focused on in particular. Which leads one of the camera people to reveal himself as a famous movie director known as Cleavon Spielbunk. Man, that's a fucking shitty name. How do you get famous with a name like that, bro? He proceeds to introduce himself with a motto of his own that's very similar to Team Rocket's, which only pisses him off even further. But after Cleavon states a whole bunch of movies that he's worked on, it causes Brock to recognize him for one of them, which is revealed as a movie called I Saw What You Ate Last Tuesday. Judging by the picture of it we get, it looks like a fucking noir film, because it's black and white, so it must be somewhat entertaining. Despite Brock's amazement at finally seeing the director due to loving the movie so much, Ash and Misty are still clueless as to who the guy is, which unfortunately pisses him off a little bit, but then Katrina reveals that she knew of him as well, which comforts him a bit, as she further states that she loved I Saw What You Ate Last Tuesday as well. Damn, this movie must be really fucking good, right? However, she then clarifies that she only meant that she loved the trailer, revealing that she hadn't actually watched the movie, which just made the guy cry even more. Damn, he was going from W to L to W to L to W to L. A still bitter Team Rocket then comes up to him while he's crying, and questions him why the fuck he was out here trying to film people, stating how all he said was that he was a director. Just because he was a director didn't mean that he had the right to fucking film whoever he wanted. Cleavon defends himself by stating that the reason why he filmed Jesse James and Ash and the gang and all them was because he was looking for a lead for his next movie and wanted to see if Jesse James or Ash and the gang had the on-screen talent to potentially be candidates for the lead role. This leads Team Rocket to change their tune, going from angry to absolutely kind and elegant, begging him to let them be in the lead role, obviously due to their want for fame. However, Cleavon then clarifies, much to Team Rocket's sadness, that the show only contained Pokemon actors, which was why he was watching Ash and Team Rocket's battle, not so that he could find on-screen talent in them, but their Pokemon instead. This leads Ash to get excited, as he thinks that maybe Cleavon had casted some interesting Pokemon that he's never met before, and Cleavon confirms this as he reveals the co-lead, which he has cast, being a Wigglytuff, which was in fact a Pokemon that Ash had never seen. When Meowth sees the Wigglytuff, he thinks that it's an ugly bitch, and laughs at it, which causes Meowth to get absolutely bitch-slapped by the Wigglytuff. When Brock sees this, he comments on how funny it was how Wigglytuff looked like such a cute, innocent Pokemon, but it was actually a mean bastard, and this sets off the Wigglytuff yet again as it bitch-slaps Brock. The Wigglytuff then walks off in anger, as Ash and the gang and Team Rocket all agree that Wigglytuff seemed to be a fucking bitch. Even Cleavon agrees, stating that Wigglytuff being too much of a tough bitch was the reason why its previous co-star, and Abra, had decided to ditch the project, teleporting away. Cleavon then checks the time, and realizes that it was time for the auditions to begin, revealing that not only was he trying to look on his own for a co-lead, but he was giving people a chance to send themselves to him as well, so that he didn't have to do all the work. I mean, he was a director, not the casting dude. He shouldn't have to do it all. He suggests that Ash and the gang enter their Pokemon into the official auditions so he can see more of what they can do, and Ash and the gang accept as they follow him to the audition space, with Jigglypuff watching from a tree. A while later, the auditions were about to begin, with the camera crew set up and an audience of people watching eagerly. Some of the Pokemon auditioning included a Hitmonlee, Tauros, and a Doduo, along with Ash's Pikachu, Katrina's Raichu, Jesse and James's Arbok and Weezing and Meowth, Brock's Vulpix, and Misty's Staryu. Just kidding, because when Misty sent out Staryu, I bet you can guess what happened. Yes, that's right, Psyduck came out, because it wanted to audition instead. And Misty, although she was pissed off, decided to let it. The trainers all waved to their Pokemon and wished them good luck, as Spielbunk brings down a disco ball and begins to play music, stating that the first stage of the auditions was a dancing competition, as the Pokemon would have to do a lot of dancing in the movie. Meowth proceeds to do his absolute best to dance, but Arbok and Weezing, on the other hand, are really struggling and they don't know what to do. But then Jessie and James suggest that Arbok wrap itself up in its tail and dance while sitting in one spot to shake things up. As for the Hitmonlee, it was embarrassed as it was used to fighting, not dancing. Pikachu and Raichu were holding hands, dancing together. Vulpix was, just doing its thing. And Psyduck was simply grasping its head, having a massive headache, likely due to the bad music that Spielbank was playing. Once the dancing round concludes, Spielbank only chooses 7 Pokemon to move on to round 2 of auditions. Pikachu and Raichu, much to Katrina and Ash's celebration, Arbok and Weezing, especially to Jessie and James's celebration, Psyduck and Vulpix, as well as Meowth. Although it was a very close decision between Meowth, Tauros, and Hitmonlee, Meowth assumes that him being saved for last meant he was Spielbank's favorite, and he proceeds to jump up and lick him, much to Spielbank's shock. Meowth is still in a tremendously good mood when Spielbank then reveals that the second round was going to be a singing round, as there was likely going to be musical numbers in the movie as well. Meowth immediately starts to sing, playing his guitar as well, hoping to boost his credibility, but he is immediately cut off by none other than Jigglypuff, who comes out of hiding from the tree and begins to sing, wanting to show everyone up. This obviously causes everyone to fall asleep, much to Jigglypuff's anger, as usual, so Jigglypuff then proceeds to draw on everyone's faces. Everyone immediately wakes up and cleans themselves off as the Jigglypuff runs away, though. And Spielbank then changes his mind after seeing Jigglypuff, which reminded him of his Wigglytuff, and he suggested that instead of the Pokemon singing by themselves, they sang with Wigglytuff, so that not only could they prove they could sing, but they proved that they have on-screen chemistry with their co-lead. Whoa, did Jigglypuff actually do something good for once? Nah, I'm joking. Anyways, Meowth then states that he works better alone, thinking that Spielbank would give him a pass because he still thought that he was Spielbank's favorite, but all that Meowth gets is not a pass, but a fucking cold cock slap from Wigglytuff, who was triggered that Meowth thought that it could do better without it, being the self-centered bitch that it was. Arbok and Weezing then try to sing with the Wigglytuff, but Wigglytuff bitch slaps them as well, despite their cooperation, confirming that it was a fucking bitch. Like, okay, Meowth I got because Meowth insulted you, but Arbok and Weezing did nothing to you. Spielbank doesn't want to upset the Wigglytuff himself, so he accepts Wigglytuff's demands and states that Jessie and James's Pokemon were disqualified due to Wigglytuff not liking them. Team Rocket rebuttal how unfair that was, despite them doing unfair shit all the time, and they order Arbok and Weezing to attack Spielbank. But Arbok and Weezing refuse, as they're too fucking depressed after what Wigglytuff did to them, now thinking that they were useless bitches because they couldn't sing good enough. I mean, they were useless bitches, but only when it came to battling. Arbok and Weezing are so depressed that not only do they refuse to battle, but they refuse to even stay there entirely and begin to leave, leaving Jessie and James behind. So Jessie and James decide to give up on their want to battle and chase after their Pokemon, not wanting to lose them. Meowth, realizing that he wasn't Spielbank's favorite after all, sadly follows them. All of the other Pokemon then proceed to leave the audition stage as well and return to their trainers, as they're all understandably scared of being bitch-slapped by Wigglytuff. However, one Pokemon stays behind, Misty's Psyduck. Misty, thinking that all the other Pokemon made the right call, states with disappointment how Psyduck must have been too stupid to know what was going on, otherwise they would have got off the stage. Brock and Ash, wanting to defend Psyduck from Misty's usual insults, argue that maybe it was only acting stupid, only to further prove that it should be given the co-lead role. Yeah, I don't know about that one, guys, but Psyduck does actually end up getting the co-lead role, as Spielbank states that since all the other Pokemon left, they were disqualified, so Psyduck was therefore the only other option left. With Psyduck now officially a part of the movie, Ash and the gang requested that they learn what the movie was actually about, as Spielbank hadn't even told them yet. Spielbank happily obliges, revealing that the movie was called Pokémon in Love, and that the plot was essentially just a Romeo and Juliet ripoff. Essentially, Wigglytuff was a normal type, Psyduck was a water type, and they were star-crossed lovers. But however, the water types and normal types were at war, so they didn't like that Psyduck and Wigglytuff were star-crossed lovers. But then, some random fighting types come in and cause havoc, which results in Psyduck's death and makes Wigglytuff sad. And after both families see how sad Wigglytuff was, they realize that a good relationship between them is possible, and they make up. So yeah, literally just fucking Romeo and Juliet. Despite this, Spielbank acts like it's an entirely original idea, and Brock and Ash entirely believe him, bawling their eyes out in sadness at the amazing writing that totally wasn't stolen at all. Misty, thankfully, is level-headed, and she states how it was obviously a copy, but Brock and Ash are really desperate to join a movie, so they just tell Misty to shut up and trample over her as they request Spielbank to join. Spielbank obviously accepts, because why wouldn't he want more help from underage kids? Ash and the gang are immensely happy, including Katrina, and they begin work on the movie. Meanwhile, Team Rocket were spying on the film set, not just wanting to attack Ash and the gang, but Spielbank as well, as revenge for everything that had happened to make their Arbok and Weezing so sad. But unfortunately, Arbok and Weezing were still fucking so depressed that they couldn't even battle against Spielbank or Ash and the gang if Team Rocket requested them to. This forces Team Rocket to do a new version of their motto, which highlights Arbok and Weezing's accomplishments as opposed to their own, which successfully manages to lift Arbok and Weezing out of their depression enough so that they're willing to fight. Meanwhile, filming had begun, with Spielbank declaring that they were going to film the final scene before any other scene, as the final scene was usually the hardest to get right, and that way they already had the ending worked out so that nothing could go wrong in the beginning or anything, as they knew what they were heading towards. This may seem like a useless-ass detail, but I actually really appreciate it, as it definitely seems like something a real film director would do, so great job at realism for once, Pokemon. for once. Everyone then gets into their positions, with the on-screen normal and water Pokemon who were supposed to be fighting taking their places, Pidgeotto setting up some wind effects, Staryu, who had since joined in, setting up some water effects, and Pikachu and Raichu setting up some thunder and lightning effects, using Gust, Rain Dance, and Thunderbolt respectively. Pikachu and Raichu were also part of the actual play as well, being given a side role, being Sir Montague and Sir Capulet respectively, because they still wanted to be a part of the movie, but they just didn't want to have to co-star alongside Wigglytuff, and doing so, like this, they didn't have to. With all the effects being set up, the scene could now officially begin being filmed, so the scene began with the two families fighting in a final battle, as Psyduck and Wigglytuff were then instructed to walk on by Spielbunk. Wigglytuff and Psyduck happily make their way onto set, but during the fighting scene, Pikachu is knocked away in the battle and lands on Wigglytuff, which pisses it the fuck off. And it's about to derail the whole production by bitch-slapping Pikachu, but actually unknowingly, thankfully for Spielbunk, Team Rocket then make their entrance by using a smoke bomb, causing smoke to fill the area, and saying their motto. Damn, I really thought you guys were doing something good for once, but I guess the smoke is just going to cause even more of a derailment to production, so fuck you. As Team Rocket continue doing their motto, they request the cameraman to film their awesomeness, which causes the Pokemon, who were already pissed about Jessie and James interrupting the filming, to get even more pissed off, as they didn't want them to hog the camera. So all the Pokemon then gang up on Jessie and James, attacking them relentlessly in a huge brawl, bigger than the one that they were filming. Spielbunk realizes this, so he demands the camera crew to keep filming the scene, noting that they probably wouldn't get another chance to have such a real-life scene in the movie. Spielbunk then decides to join in on the brawl to make it more intense, and suggests that the cameramen do the same, and simply leave the cameras rolling on tripods. The cameramen, torn between wanting to save their lives and just leave set and escape from the brawl, or lose their job, decide to join the brawl. I guess money was more important. Ash then notices the camera as he was fighting in the brawl, and tries to wave to it in hopes that he could get some screen time in the movie as an extra. Misty then notices the camera as well, and tries to do the same thing after kicking Ash out of the way. Brock then also realizes the cameraman's absence and kicks Misty out of the way, trying to do his own thing. With the three of them being distracted, they're all shocked to hear Katrina scream, and they look over and realize that Team Rocket had somehow won the brawl by utilizing a huge ass machine that they apparently had this whole time that had a magnet on it that could also be used to grab hold of all the Pokemon. This is what had caused Katrina to scream, as Team Rocket had successfully grabbed hold of all the Pokemon, now having them in their possession. Ash and the gang panicked, but then their panic was turned to relief as they turned around and realized that Psyduck was behind them. He hadn't been captured yet. Ash and Brock were relieved, as I said, but Misty herself was fuming, stating why the fuck did Psyduck have to be the free Pokemon out of any of the Pokemon that could have been free. She then angrily demands that Psyduck try and prove itself by at least trying to help the situation, and his co-star Wigglytuff also begs him to do something. Psyduck initially fails to do anything, as he's too dumb to understand what Misty and Wigglytuff were saying, but as the two of them continue to yell at him, the immense yelling gives him a headache, and we know what his headache does, gives him his psychic powers. So Psyduck uses these psychic powers to successfully remove all of the Pokemon from the magnet and send Team Rocket blasting off with their machine. These psychic powers were obviously too much for Psyduck to handle though, and he passes out in exhaustion, which actually leads the Wigglytuff to run up to him, actually being concerned for someone for once. Whoa, no way, maybe Wigglytuff wasn't a cunt after all. Presumably due to Wigglytuff's caringness, this causes Psyduck to open his eyes and be entirely healed from its exhaustion. Yay, Deus Ex Machina moment. Ash, knowing that Psyduck's last memory was probably Misty and Wigglytuff yelling at it, decides that it's probably best that they show it some affection for once, and encourages everyone to cheer for Psyduck as a reward for him actually doing something, and everyone obliges, even Misty. Yay, happy ending. Later that night, Ash and the gang, and Katrina and all the film crew, are actually using the campground as a camping space. No way! Ash is depressed though, as he realizes that he spent yet another filler episode not doing any training for the Pokemon League, but Misty and Brock comfort him, stating that there was always more filler episodes, Ash. No, they obviously don't say that, but they do comfort him. Spielbunk tries his best to cheer Ash up as well, thanking Ash and the gang for all their assistance with providing a great final scene for his movie, but adding that Ash's adventures would likely make for an even better movie with all the exciting shit that he gets into. Ash agrees as he turns over to Katrina and states how their eventual battle at the Pokemon League would definitely make for a great movie. Katrina agrees, and man, I wish that we actually got this battle in the Pokemon League. I wish we actually got to see what Katrina was capable of. Anyways, Spielbunk clarifies that he really wasn't just trying to make Ash feel better, and he was genuinely serious about making a movie about Ash's adventures, trying to entice him into actually joining by stating that any male lead would get plenty of bitches and fame. Brock is instantly interested when he hears that you would get bitches, and asks Spielbunk if he could play Ash instead. Yeah, alright, buddy. The episode then ends with two alone groups, the first one being Psyduck and Wigglytuff, who were now very, very close with each other, with Wigglytuff greatly appreciating Psyduck for everything it did, and was soothing what remained of Psyduck's headache. And then you had Jessie and James on the other hand, who had blasted off into a tree hanging over a cliff, and were very angry.